Almighty God, we bow before you. We bless your name.
It was a combination of praise songs and preaching as Christians from different denominations gathered to demonstrate against the recognition of same-sex marriages.
The Christian Coalition of Churches in Namibia strongly advocates that marriage is only between a man and a woman. Furthermore, the law should prohibit same-sex partnerships as marriages and any funding that promotes such practices.
My name is Bongani Garoëb, and I am a lay preacher within the Methodist Church of Southern Africa, Namibia district. I identify as a gay man, and my sexuality in relation to church was a very easy transition. I wouldn't put it as something that was very difficult. There were resentments, or not to put it that way, but a resistance, but I couldn't hear it directly from people. I would hear it from other people. So there's stories going around about my sexuality because when you come into this space, you sort of seen like, okay, this is a young man. Why is he single? What's happening? But eventually people knew. They never just confronted me about it, and I also did not give them that space to come in and question me about my sexuality. When I came into this church, I was part of the stewards already. And along the way, you're in leadership, so you're serving on the leadership board. So people would question or start having conversations about it, and you're like, hey, so how do you allow such a person to serve on leadership? And as the wind blows, you're in Windhoek. So it comes to you, but it's not from the source itself. So I don't really entertain things that are third party. I'd want you to come and have a conversation with me so that you can understand. So I had a very interesting journey. I wouldn't say I was ostracized or made felt out of space, but I was always received, because when I come and present myself, I come sincerely as Bongani. Well, the church's stance on LGBTQI plus people in general. The church basically says that we don't agree with anything that has to do with hate speech. We don't agree with violence. We accept people as they are. We embrace them. We welcome them into the space of the church, and there is no right for anyone to ostracize them or chase them out just because they identify differently.
We further advocate for an enactment of an act of parliament to explicitly prohibit the practices of homosexuality in Namibia.
With the new ruling that we got in May, everyone was excited. We're like, yay, we're getting married. And the reality is not the case. But that started a whole conversation, sparked protest and all that. So you're sitting within this whole setup and this whole scene at this moment. After the May ruling, and we had this anti-gay protest being brewed underneath, there were WhatsApp groups. People were added to these groups. People wanted to know where they are, where should we get them, because they do not belong in Namibia. It was a scary scene. It was a scary scene because for most of my life, I've been very safe in the spaces that I found myself, even though I identify as being gay. And then you get to that space where this is happening. People want to get your head, hate speech that was coming out and all. I was asking myself if there's a whole outbreak of witch hunt coming out now. Where do I go to? Do I run back home to South Africa and stay there? But what happens to the rest of the people that were fighting for us to have the space that we are at right now, to be recognized, to be accepted in society? For me, it was really a shaky moment. And myself and the bishop were attending a faith-based conference, which was trying to have a stakeholders roundtable conversation as to church. What do you say? How do you feel? And at that moment, we were the first people to issue a statement to say, according to what our church says, we do not condone protests. So therefore, Methodist people called Methodists in Namibia should not partake in this whole activity that is currently happening. For me, that stance gave me a sense of being appreciated, being valued, being loved, because God is love. And so when God is love, God says we are not here to hate. We do not have the right to judge, because he's the ultimate judge above everyone. But it also says that amongst the fire that's happening currently, there's a safe space for me to be in. So it's heartbreaking to see that there are still churches that do not want to speak about this thing in this age that we are at. Looking into the future prospects of what the future holds for us, I believe that there's more work to be done, but there's more action for me on my part that I need to contribute probably from my space. And so when I stand in a pulpit, it's not to promote a gay agenda, but it is to talk about what God has to offer to the people of God. So I'm not standing there because I identify as being gay, but I identify as having a call from God to serve his people regardless of who I am. I'm the vessel that God uses to send out his message. So I'm not fearful. I'm hopeful, because we came this far with people that already took strides to come to where we are today. If it was not for someone that filed for a motion to be heard in front of all the courts of Namibia, we would not have had this stirring incident or this conversation going throughout the society of Namibia. And I believe, I'm very hopeful that the future is still a long way to go, but we have already set the motion of reaching some form of how do I put it, some form of a future where you do not see me for what I identify as, but we can sit down and just be civil. I don't say believe in what I do. I don't say swallow or digest who I am. I'm saying listen to me. And so that's where we need to go to.